maybe first of all, I'd like to start off with some interesting information when it comes to comparing the corporate side, and then we can have a continuous discussion also going on, then what that means to policy side. Can we have the first slide? Can I have the first slide, please? Okay. I'm trying hard. Okay, so what I'm trying to make this very short, this slide. What this shows, all the colors that you see in blue between 0 and 100, that compiles companies doing R&D, the majority of their R&D in their own country. And then you take the sample of publicly listed companies doing more than 60% outside their home country, either with their own R&D centers or through collaboration with other entities, research centers, startups, wherever else in the world. And you can see that on the financial metrics, in all the 4 financial metrics, they exceed about 20 to 40% their peers, which are doing much less international collaboration. So the metrics, and I'm sure somebody's going to translate this, is the total stakeholder return, operating margins, market cap, and return on assets. And the reason I'm showing this, it's not only for the Russian companies, it can be a question for the government to think about, should we make Russia an innovation hub for big multinational at a very, very large scale? And I can tell you, the Chinese have done this at very large scale already in some areas, and so have the Indians and some other countries, well, I'll come back to, like Singapore, etc. The good news related to this slide is, for the first time in history, when I look at the outsourcing, offshoring of services, it used to be in the old days the call centers going international, administrative back office and procurement. What's totally new in the last 2 years is product design, engineering, and R&D tops the list of offshoring outsourcing activities for multinationals, followed by IT, and mainly IT support. So that is one of the areas I wanted to highlight. A second area, I think, where a lot of corporations, and I see this in not only China and India, I can see this big time here in Russia, is not only doing and setting up their own in-house R&D centers, but actually looking at corporate venturing as a multi-activity in innovation, meaning M&A is one of the areas, and acquisition of companies is one area to look at. Strategic alliances is another part of it. Joint ventures, these are all the stuff, these 3 areas are pretty much known to most of them. And then, of course, their own house in R&D, but the corporate venturing piece is really the one that reaches out for collaboration and innovation at large scale. And this can be either through incubation internally, but more importantly, with corporate venture capital investments in very innovative companies, either by doing direct investments or investing in VC funds. And this is more complicated than you think, but it's a great route of all major multinationals. And then venture and innovation centers of excellence, leveraging the market intelligence, reaching out, and then finally the innovation and portfolio partnering. Don't want to go into all these details. All I'm trying to say and show and try to push hard is reaching out and leverage what's outside, because some of the smartest people, even at Medtronic, are probably not working at Medtronic. Okay, so that's a sort of, and then lastly, if I can add one more interesting slide, which I do fast. If I look, there are two types of companies. I call it the industrial companies, and you have the new high dynamic markets around digital media, internet, mobile. And if you look at the fastest growth companies in 2010 and 2011 with the highest growth in revenue and EBITDA margins, there are 6 of them exceeding 30% in all of them for the last 2 years. It's 3 Chinese, 2 Russians, and 1 Latin American. It's none of the Westerners, and that's where the growth market is, and the underserved market. And what I wanted to say is, I learned this a lot in China and in India when it comes to innovation. It's about not the brand new craziest idea in the world. It's imitating a great idea, localize it, and then a lot of quick iterations, super rapid speed iteration, and then you innovate on top of it, and I'm even adding globalize it. So as an example, Twitter, which is not permitted in China, has just copied back for the first time interesting features and solutions from their competitor in China.